everyone, and welcome back to eSailGP. I'm your host, Shay Thompson, and this is the world's fastest virtual sail racing. We are back for the Taranto Qualifier Final, and our players have a great show for you tonight with all their experience both in and out of the waters. To catch you up on last time's Qualifier Final, Augustin and Deja Vu went head to head, and even though Deja Vu had a bit of a rocky start, he managed to claw his way back and cinch the win. Speaking of, we have some tips and tricks from our last winner, Deja Vu.
Hi, I'm Mike O'Donovan. I'm the 2020 eSailGP champion. I'm here to take you through some of the tactics that players should know if you want to avoid those penalties and improve maneuvers around the mark. The most important rule to consider when approaching any mark in the race is the mark room rule, Rule 18. This rule deems that if there is an overlap, the boat on the outside has to give way to the boat on the inside. This rule applies from 3 boat lengths from the mark, as indicated by the circle around it in the game. This means that the key consideration on approach is checking if there's an overlap with any other boat. In a fleet, when approaching the first mark, it's really important to position yourself on the inside of the turn. This is so you can take it as you like and not have to take a longer course around anyone inside you. Think carefully and get yourself around that mark as clean as possible. For the upwind marks, especially with other boats close by, it's really important to try and approach on starboard, as on port you won't have right of way. This usually leads to taking a left-hand turn. The downwind marks have a bit more nuance to them, and so it's much more important to start considering your options early on the downwind leg. It's important to be thinking about your speed and your approach to the mark as well. The phrase in wide, out tight is key, and it can gain you lots of positions. Be on the lookout for other boats coming in on the inside line that might stop you going to the mark you want to. It's always a good idea to approach a mark on starboard so that all the rights are in your favour. This way, if there's another boat approaching, you won't have to avoid them and you can take the optimal route around the mark. Everyone can make a good plan, but the best players can adapt to the boats around them and come up with a new plan in seconds. This ability comes from practice and experience. It's important not to be afraid to get things wrong, as otherwise you won't have anything to learn from.
And there you have it, some very useful advice indeed. And if you'd like to have a go at the game yourself, you can. Search Virtual Regatta Inshore on the App Store or Google Play Store, and very soon you'll be skippering your own EF50. Right, it's time now to welcome back our commentators, and you'll notice we have a new face. Leo is off training for the Olympics, so stepping in valiantly is his fellow team member, Tim Morishima. Thank you so much for joining us, guys. How's it going, Tim? How's things going? How's practice going and training so far?
Yeah, thanks very much, Shay. No, it's a real privilege to be here and commentating the eSailGP, and really looking forward to it. Yeah, it's been going well over here. We went out for a training sail yesterday on the New Zealand boat, and we're a little bit rusty, but by the time I'm sure Nate will be up to scratch.
And I know that you've given the game a go yourself. Like, do you think that you could, take some of our players on, or, how do you fancy your skills so far?
Oh, yeah. I used to be a, avid player of the game, and now I'm a quiet observer, I call myself. I recognize a lot of the names, and it'll be good to see how they go today.
Awesome. And Nathan, how's things going? How was Bermuda? I know it was a bit of a tough time. Walk us through it.
Yeah, I guess Bermuda ended with a bang for us. Big crash with the Americans, not really what we were hoping for after such a good first day. But the good news is the boats have been repaired. Just behind us in the shed right now, they're about to roll out and put it in the water. So we're going to have our first sailing session in that boat today. We were lucky we got out yesterday on the Kiwi boat. They loaned us their boat for some training. We didn't break anything, so that was the best part of yesterday. And as Tim was saying, we're a little bit rusty, but looking forward to sailing today.
Absolutely. I'm keeping my fingers and my toes crossed for you. And in terms of today's regatta, who do you have your eye on to take it all?
Well, I guess we just have to wait and see. I was really impressed with the level of everyone in the Bermuda event, and looking forward to getting into the action today, doing a bit of commentary with Timmy, and just critiquing people when they make mistakes.
I love that that's the highlight. You're just looking forward to critiquing people. I love to see it. Right, well, it's time now. Now that we've said hello to you guys, I cannot wait to see you guys get back out there and to commentate and take us through the action. So before we begin the first of our fleet races, it would be good to see who is actually taking part in today's regatta. You'll notice there are some familiar names as well. From Croatia, we've got Stepan Čezek. The first of our French competitors is Le Mer Noir. Coming in from Turkey, we have Khan Mazlumka. From the French SailGP team, we have MCES Pepito. Still looking strong with that SailGP representation in this list, we've got Spanish Juan Cardona. Also from the MCES sponsored team, we've got Galzen. And our two Dutch competitors are Lambrix and Heide. So it's a very strong list of competitors here, and I cannot wait to see what they do. It's time now for the first of the fleet races. So Tim and Nathan, it's all yours.
Welcome to eSailGP Taranto, where we'll be commentating the 8 boats that are going to be competing for the match race at the end and ultimately winning the championship for the Taranto leg. I'm Tim Morishima and I'm here with Nathan Outteridge, and we're going to be your commentators today. And it'll be a really interesting series, I think. What do you reckon, Nathan?
Yeah, well, look, they've already got into it. Thanks, Timmy. And here we are already at Mark 1, and penalties galore at Mark 1 there. You can see boats jibing straight away here. It's always a tricky one, that start. And you can see right now we've got a very tight race coming into this first bottom mark, Tim.
Yeah, as you can see, it's a Japanese boat as usual, back in front. They're going to be taking the left gate by the looks of it. Coming on, and there we go. It's a Japanese boat and the French boat, so that's Pepito. And who else have we got in the Japanese there? I'm not quite sure there, but Pepito just tacking on the boundary. This will be an interesting cross here. And tacking on their lead boat. That's a racing manoeuvre right there, but it didn't seem to pay off the penalty that they just got. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, well, as we learnt in Bermuda, being on port tax, and the good thing about eSailGP is if you hit another boat, you don't cause major damage. But here we can see the French team, Port Tac, leading this race at the moment, with Turkey right there in second with the orange and grey stripes. Looks like they're really making the most of this course, going boundary to boundary. You can see them here tacking on the boundary. Right now, the lead boat has a controlling position. You can see the wind shadow that they're creating, really slowing the competitors behind. And man, that's not a great spot for Bart there to tack in the Japanese boat, tacking right into the wind shadow. Why would he do that, Tim?
Oh, mate, he was kind of running out of options there since he was coming onto the right-hand boundary there. So the French boat in a really strong position, leading all of the boats back to that right gate where they have to tack. And to get a split, you got to use another tack, and that's just going to cost you more time, and you end up sailing more distance. So yeah, it's a really strong position for the French team right now. And it looks like there's a lot of pressure running down that left-hand side, looking downwind. So again, when you're in front, you're just completely in control, aren't you, Nate? You
are, exactly, Tim. As if you look in the top left-hand corner of our screen, you can see the overall course, and you can see the socks at the top tell you the wind direction, and the dark is more wind and the light is less wind. And you can see all the boats took that right-hand turn at the top. French boat leading the charge with plenty of breeze, and look at that, already round the bottom mark. So Tim, on this next upwind, with the wind stronger on the right and lighter on the left, where do we expect everyone to go?
Well, that's it. I mean, the French boat have just done exactly what you need to do. You take that right-hand gate looking downwind, tack onto the shift and head towards the pressure, and you end up doing less tacks and being in more breeze. And ultimately, you can find yourself just gaining more and more distance against your competitors. But we've got a good battle just behind as well. We got the orange boat. I think that's the Dutch team, Bart Lambrix, and the other guys that are going to be competing for that spot right now. And we see right now the Dutch boat hidden, I think it is. They're just on that light left-hand side right now. You can see them slowly losing a bit of distance, but again, the French team, Pepito, making sense on his opposition.
You'd almost say right now, Tim, it's smooth sailing for those out in front, but there's a big action-packed battle here between really second and fifth, really close right now. We can see port starboard situations developing here, tight just makes the cross there and going to ley line. So potentially one less maneuver for the red and black boat there that just tacked. But you can see the Japanese boats never really fell back a bit. They're still in the hunt, aren't they, Tim?
That's it. It's really close with this Dutch team right now. They're both going over to that right-hand gate and around the mark they go. Nath, what are you doing here?
Well, looking at this, you really are trying to get an inside approach to the final mark. So you can see French team out in front here. They've got one more jibe to go. They're about to turn left. You'll see them here in a second, 100 meters. And there they go. They're jibing around the final mark, reaching to the finish. And for everyone else behind, it's a procession. It's a follow the leader, this final part of the race. Round they all go. And that was a really tight battle for second right through to fifth position there. But it's an easy win for the French team. Pepito there. Impressive start, impressive race, sailed clean and never looked like losing, did he?
No, that's it. That's exactly it. I mean, once you go top gate and heading into the finish, it's very difficult to be able to change places from there. And I think they did exactly what they needed to. And looking at the race one results, we got Pepito at the top with 10 points, Mazlumka in second position with 9, and Lambrix in third position with 8 points.
And if you look at the general stacks here, you can see what's probably the most critical thing here is, what do you think, Tim? Pepito there doing the best average speed, best max speed, and this is the most important one. You see, he didn't have a great start, but he climbed that leaderboard, and from leg 2 to 3 there, he's just consistent and not much change in those top 2. So yeah. Are we seeing some favourites already?
Yeah, well, it'll be very different the next race because, I mean, looking at, second to fifth, we got a lot of position changes, and I mean, looking at 7th place from the start, VIT, he ended up in 4th, so we're going to have a lot of movement, I think.
So, Nathan, could you tell me where Pepito actually won that race? Because given the start, I thought Stefan Czesek actually had that one.
I think the big gain for him was he hit that boundary on the left-hand side of the course, tacked onto port, and when he came face-to-face with the starboard tacker tacked to leeward and surrendered the lead. And so that French boat was the giveaway boat, but when the boat tacked to leeward, he took the lead, and from that moment onwards, he just minimised the manoeuvres and found that really strong pressure that Timmy found on the right-hand side of the course, and it was easy for him from that moment.
Good stuff. And Tim, could you tell me, what do the other players need to do in order to catch up and hopefully kind of win some wins later on?
Yeah, it's a very difficult position behind like that, especially with Pepito being such a controlling position where he goes. And it was also hard because a lot of the fleet ended up following him into that top right corner initially, and when he tacked, they were all sitting in his wind shadow almost, and they were all on top of each other. So I think you have to open the race up by going on the other side and almost taking a gamble.
Well, I hope they pay attention to your advice. If you're just joining us, first of all, welcome. We have Pepito in the lead at the moment with Khan Mazlumka following in second. It's time now for the second of the fleet races. Tim and Nathan, it's all yours once more.
Okay, and here we go. 12 seconds till the start for race 2, 10 seconds. Looking at the line, it looks pretty even by the looks of it. And here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And here you go. Let's go, Nath.
So clear start here for most boats, except someone has a penalty. We'll come back and see what it is. We've got Khan here as the windward boat. That's not really a great spot because you can see soon after he got a jibe, and oh, what a maneuver, jibe straight inside. Man, how hard is that to do?
Oh, that's a very tricky maneuver, and it's something that's typical of eSailGP, is being able to perform these kind of maneuvers under pressure. And the reality is that it takes a lot more power to be able to pull those off. But when you got someone like Nathan Outteridge at the helm, he's always trying to push the limits, aren't you, Nathan?
Well, yeah, exactly. When we race the boats, we turn the wheel hard and we feel the G-forces, and poor old Timmy has to cross the boat during these turns. But on eSailGP, it looks like you just spin the boat, push a button, and away you go. And you can see here foiling upwind nicely, really good trim on the boat. And I'm impressed with how quickly they can foil tack these boats and get them up and going again. I wish it was as easy on that for us on our boats.
Oh, if only we had the auto tack and the auto BMG features, right, Nate? But looking at the race right now, so we've got the Japanese boat represented by the Dutch sailor Bart Lambrix in the lead right now, just tacking short of the boundary there. And it looks like a potential lead change. It'll be really interesting here. It looks like a right phase or a right shift, and they're heading up to that starboard ley line. And you just see the Turkish boat tacking on there now. This will be a really interesting cross.
So as you see here, the Turkish boat coming in on starboard. He has the right of way. He's in between those dotted lines, so he's on the ley line. Japanese boat tacks to leeward. He is still in the lead there, but you can see the speed after we look up the top of the course. He's getting rolled. He's now in the wind shadow, and we have a lead change here. As we get to the top of the course, you've got two options. Left turn, right turn. Looks like these boats are going to take the left turn around those marks and head off downwind. Oh, early jibe there. So as you say, Tim, splitting the course, trying to find options to get back into the lead.
That's it. We saw initially there was that left bit of pressure just running down the left side of the course there, and it'll be interesting to see whether the Turkish teams are able to make use of that. But we got a split right now coming up on the gate by the looks of it, or maybe just a little bit short of the ley line perhaps. No, here we go. So it'll be interesting to see which gate this orange boat takes. Potentially the left one, or he's going to lead the Japanese boat represented by Bart. No, he takes the left gate, and we have a split at the bottom. Oh no, we don't. We have a tack at the left mark. So what would you have done there, Nath? Is that the right manoeuvre?
Well, it looks like a good manoeuvre, because if we look at the top left-hand corner of our screen, you can see it's much darker on the left-hand side of the course than the right-hand side of the course. So he's coming all the way out here to the boundary. We'll tack here in a moment when he gets to the boundary. There's the zone, the green zone, and straight into a falling tack on the boundary. Not only was it windier on the left-hand side of the course where they are now, but there was a left-hand shift. So he did the right thing there. I think a round-up tack is an easier manoeuvre than the jibe round-up in these boats. I'm not very good at the game, but every time I come to the bottom gate, I somehow manage to run over at least one of the marks.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, Nate. Don't worry, mate. I think it was a really interesting manoeuvre to see Bart follow the Turkish sailor into that mark. I thought he might have gone for the split there and try and create a few more options, especially with that left shift in phase right now. But right now we see again, they go to that top right corner, and the leading boat is in such a controlling position. He's got three boats following him into that next tack by the looks of it, and maybe taking that. No, he's going into that and coming into the finish. So it looks pretty steady right now for Bart at the top. But we look at third and fourth place. There could be a little battle going on there. Maybe a split at the top for them. We'll see.
And around there. That Spain boat is in, and we've got a split at the top of the course here. You know, I look at this and always think, you know, if you're going to that funnel down, when you just want to keep it simple, one jibe, which is what the teams are doing here, trying to get all out of the boundary. Don't go out of bounds because you'll get a penalty there. Couple of jibes actually on this run because of the shift. But what I find interesting is in eSailGP, when you get in front, it's like the real racing in the F50s. Once you get in front, it's so much easier. Whereas we're in the pack, that's where all the action is, that's where all the lead changes are. And that's our first three finishes coming across there. And that was a pretty exciting race, Tim.
Yeah, it was. And once again, it's the same people that are up at the front. We see the French team coming in behind after winning the last race. So it's all up for grabs, and we're looking at the results now. Khan, he's been fairly consistent so far. I think he had a first and a second now, hasn't he? We see Lambrix making it into the podium, or I'm not sure if he got third before. Juan Cardona making it into the podium.
And I think here what happened was there was a couple of penalties in it. Someone got 17 penalties. That must be a glitch. I don't think you want 17 penalties.
17 penalties.
But generally what we're looking at here is the best average speed, and that was Khan. He won. And you can see there was a little lead change middle of that race. Khan overtook Bart halfway through the race. Not much happened at the front, but look at all the lead changes that happened early on between 5th and 8th in that race, and you can see that's where the penalties really hurt people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, looking at that graph, you have people starting in third and fourth position but falling behind, and then making their way back and then falling behind again. So this third race is going to be very interesting, Nate.
It sure is.
So Khan absolutely dominating the second half of that race. But, you know, there were quite a lot of lead changes in, you know, the sort of bottom half of the leaderboard. Could you explain, like, you know, why that would happen, you know, this time around?
Yeah, it's just the nature of the racing, I think. I mean, it's very easy for the first and second boats, especially around the first mark, to be able to lead where the rest of the fleet goes almost. So we saw with the start just then, the first boat that went, which was, I think it was this boat. He was the one that was leading and he kept going, but we had the Dutch boat jibe on the inside. And so they already took both options. And really, for the rest of the fleet, they have to follow at some point. And at that stage, almost the positions are set until you're able to get to the gate. And then from that point, that's where you create more options for yourself.
Yeah, definitely setting up for a very spicy third race, I reckon. And Nathan, obviously there's no comparison between, real waters and virtual ones, but some of our players actually are sailors. Is there something that they can bear in mind to make sure that they make the most of the next race?
I think the biggest similarity between the F50 racing and any sailing and the game is that the start is really critical. What we've seen is if you can get the start and you can go very fast and get around that first mark clean, so no penalties, good speed, and get to the ley line quickly, then you get away from the traffic and then racing becomes easy. If you miss the start and you're a bit late or you get a penalty, it's just a battle from there. You're battling with the competition, and the fastest way around the course is to avoid the other boats. And so I think for this final race, everyone's got to focus on getting the inside turn and just disappearing as quickly as they can.
Awesome stuff. And while you were commentating, I noticed there was a little bit of a dig from Tim to Nathan. What's your experience been like playing the game? I know you've given it a go a couple of times, but we're going to see you have a go anytime soon, Nathan?
A few times before. And I usually quit before the finish because I've made some remark or going out of bounds. And then you can do that in the game because it's just a game. But when it's in real life, you can't just quit mid-race.
I think some of these sailors will give Nathan a run for his money.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant stuff. So that's 2 races down and 1 to go. If you weren't with us before, we have Khan Mazlumka and Lambrix sitting at the top of the leaderboard with 2 points between them. As we've seen before though, anything can happen. It's time now for the third and final fleet race. So Tim and Nathan, it is all yours.
Well, here we are, final fleet race, and it's all about the start, Timmy. It's all about getting a good start, hitting the line at speed, and getting that inside turn at the first mark so you can make the jibe. So 2, 1, and over to you, Timmy.
And here we go. And it looks like a very even start in terms of position. So it's all about the speed now. And here we go. It looks like the Japanese boat. That might be Bart there, or who's on the inside. Another boat on the inside, and they're taking that first jibe. And we'll see who they are in a second. And a penalty on Juan Cardona. You just can't do that off the start because it's just so costly, isn't it, Nate?
It is, and you can see how critical it was to be on the inside. If you're inside, you can jibe early, get down to this bottom mark here in good shape, and you can see lots of tight maneuvers. Everyone wanting to go around that left turn, everyone following each other, and one French boat splitting the course going the other mark, and the Spanish out there. Look up the course, Timmy. Which way would you be going looking at the weather?
Oh, it looks very even in terms of shift, but there's a lot of pressure on that left-hand side. It's very tricky because right now they've taken the left gate and they want to go towards that right-hand side, but it's actually quite light over there. And it almost looks like the rest of the fleet is also following there. So it'll be really interesting to see who might decide to take that left-hand side to open that right-hand gate up. And we've got a penalty on Bart, which isn't going to be good for the points, seeing as he's been doing quite well. But right now we got in first position is Hide, and then and Stepien, and then in second, and Pepito in third.
I'm really impressed with Pepito. He was last at the start. He was at the windward end, got forced the wide way around, came around the bottom marks in pretty bad position, and he's already up into the top 3. Remember, he won the first race here of the Taranto SailGP, and if he gets a good result in this race, he's going to make that final. And it's close. He's done a great job on this upwind. It's very unusual for someone to sail from the back of the fleet to the front in eSailGP, and I reckon he's going to take the lead here going around these top marks.
Yeah, he's got that starboard advantage right now. Is he going to give a penalty? He is. He gave the penalty to Hide, I think, the Dutch sailor there, and they both go for the jibe, getting straight into that shift. Perhaps that pressure just a little bit too wide to be able to be used, right, Nate? Do you think?
Yeah, I think that pressure band on the left-hand side of the course was actually outside of the boundaries. You see the Japanese boat there at the bottom of the screen tried to go out for it, had to jibe. And what is really noticeable is how costly these penalties are. Timmy, you've played the game a lot. How frustrating is it when you get a penalty?
Oh, Nathan, it's unbelievable. I always say you got to play on the computer because you can always throw your phone, but you can never throw your computer. So you just you gotta use something that's fixed to a table, so you can't just smash it.
Exactly. And back to the race, and there's a good leader for first position, but second right through to fifth is tight, and another penalty at the bottom mark there. These penalties must be so frustrating for the sailors. As we look up the course again, Tim, more prees coming down the course. Which way would you be heading if you were racing?
Well, I mean, it'll be really interesting to see. We've got this Japanese boat that's going to be in the shift and the pressure. We can maybe see if they make a gain from the boats that have gone on the right-hand side. But again, the leader, Pepito, just taking control of the race right now. And it has filled in quite all around the course. It's almost about playing the shifts now.
The other big mover in this fleet is the Turkish sailor, Khan. He was also towards the back of the race. He was the winner of race number 2. We're clearly seeing two strong teams here at the moment. Oh, and that was a tight duck.
That was very close.
No penalty. That was the critical thing. You make the duck, no penalty, and you don't crash the boat. That's the most important thing in sailing, isn't it?
You could learn something from that, Nate.
If in doubt, duck the other boats.
That's it. And he gave a penalty to Bart. That's a very bold maneuver there. Coming down a little bit to create a situation and then giving that penalty away.
Really close between second and eighth in this one. The leader is absolutely gone. They're going to go round the top mark, left turn. It's straight to the finishing line here. Down round mark 1, back to the finish, but it's tight. Look at the boats coming here on port tack at the top mark. Probably more penalties going to be handed out here.
And going into the finish, Pepito in a very controlling position. This is going to be really tight for the final match race. It looks like Khan is going to be one of the runners in that race, but that second position, it's going to be really close with the points, I think, because there's so many different individuals that are getting through now.
Well, you'd have to think it's Pepito. If he's won 2 races in this series, it's a good chance, you know, and he probably wouldn't have been happy with race 2, but winning that final race, that's got to put him into the final. And Khan, you'd have to say, is in there too with a second, first, second. That's about as consistent as you can get.
And see the results in a second and check out the data of how all the different teams went and who performed the best. So first place, we got Pepito, second place, Mazlumka, and third place is Viate Hide. And so we'll see the final results for that and see who's in the match race.
And here we go, average speed. Pepito, he's sailing fast. He's doing really well. And you can see max wind speed. How would you go like that on an F50?
Oh, you'll be holding on white knuckles there, I'd say. It's a lot of breeze. And here we go, looking at the data. Look at Pepito. He went from 6th place to 1st, and that just shows you the volatility of the racing here. And there's a lot of different changes in the middle of the pack as well, between 8th and 3rd. Looking at Bart, he went from 1st to last, and I think that was from that penalty that he got, Nate.
He must have got multiple penalties for that to happen.
Such a volatile race there. I mean, Bart going from 1st to last, that has got to sting. So Pepito wins the 3rd race, and I can confirm it will be Pepito and Khan Mazlumka in the final match race. So France v Turkey. Tim, what do they need to be thinking about in this final match race in order to clinch the win?
Well, the match race is just a completely different game from the fleet racing. You only got one boat to worry about, and it's we see it in the fleet racing as well, that once you're in the lead, it's very easy to control. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the second place boat does in terms of creating options for themselves.
Awesome stuff. And Nathan, I'm determined to make a betting man out of you. What are your predictions? Who do you think has it in this final match race?
I'm going to have to put my money on the Turkish boat. They've had 2 seconds and a first. He's been the most consistent. He started well in every race. So yeah, I'll put my money on the Turkish team.
Nice. And do you have any predictions for the rest of the qualifiers? Like, do you think he's got the goods to make it all the way?
Well, I think if he wins today, that'll be a good start for making sure he can consistently do well. But man, there's a lot of good sailors out there playing this game, and I think that as the season develops, we might not even see these sailors here today qualifying for the next round. So unless they train between the events, they're not going to cut it, because there's a lot of people who want to be involved in these finals.
That is true. We'll find out a bit about their training regimens very, very soon. Thank you so much for taking us through the fleet races. We got wise words and predictions. What more could we want? So there we have it. Khan, Muslimka and Pepito are sitting at the top of the leaderboard with 2 points between them. They are our finalists for tonight. We'll be catching up with them shortly. But before we do that, here's a look at the next episode of Racing on the Edge, available on Friday on the Facebook and YouTube social channels.
Jimmy's one of the best sailors in the world. You can't win an America's Cup as a skipper without being one of the best sailors in the world.
He's the best up there.
Jimmy hates losing.
We're off.
If you had a collision with another boat, the impact could be enormous.
We've got the same amount of penalty points as Japan. It just doesn't seem right that we finish behind them.
Congratulations to you both. I'd love to know, how did you get into sailing?
I'm a sailor actually. When I was in the age of 7, I started with Optimist and I continued with Laser class. And I had a national championship in Turkey. And yeah, I was in the national team on and off. So yeah, I've been sailing for like all of my life, as far as I know.
Awesome stuff. And I'd love to know the same from you, Pepito.
I started sailing when I had 8 years old. I did the Optimist, and after I did the 420. I do World Championship and European, and now I'm sailing on laser.
Wicked stuff. So are you following this season of SailGP?
Yeah, I'm very much interested actually. I love SailGP, and it is really competitive. It is really fast and enjoyable. The races are really interesting, and everything can change in a second. You know, that boat is really amazing me. Like going in 15 knots, and you have to be careful with the other boats, avoid crashing, like we have seen in the last Bermuda action, and at the same time you need to be very careful with the tactics, because you know you have some boundaries. You have to strategically think before you do anything, like when you tack, because you have to avoid making too many maneuvers, as you know it slows you down. So I think it's a strategically really amazing boat. So I've been watching it since the very beginning. So it's really exciting for me.
I love that. And so do you have a team that you're rooting for?
Well, Team Australia is really good. They're really consistent. They won the 2019 SailGP. And so, yeah, I really like how they are sailing. And in the last Bermuda race, they were really consistent as well. But in the match race, actually not the match race, but last 3 medal race, Ben Aisley and the Great Britain team won. I think, yeah, Great Britain is also really a strong team. I really like them too. But not only them, but also the crew, the all of the fleet is really good. I mean, there are a lot of Olympic sailors, so it is a really nice high competition, I think.
Wicked. And Pepito, are you following SailGP as well?
I follow the French team because we make a deal with him. If I do a better place than him on the Taranto SailGP, they need to send me something.
Well, fingers crossed that they actually end up sending it to you. So going into this final match race, what's your strategy? Khan, I want to know your answer first.
That's a tough question. I know Tim Carpentier is a really good sailor. I've been following him for a while, and I know he's in the match race. I think he's going to be really tough. I'm sure about that. So I don't know. I think both of us, I think we are really good eSailors as well. So I think at the moment we will see what's going to happen, but I'll do my best to win.
And you, Pepito?
I think I'm gonna be really aggressive because Khan beat me last week on the Olympic Games, so I need my revenge.
Amazing. Well, I hope you get your revenge. Good luck to you both. So 3 races have whittled it down to 2. We have Kan Mazlumka from Turkey. We have Pepito from France. For the final time tonight, I'm handing it over to you, Tim and Nathan. Take it away.
Here we go, 15 seconds till the start, and it looks like Khan is leading back to the start. So he's the one that's trying to kill as much time as he can before. And here we go, 3 seconds to go, 2, 1, and away we go, Nate.
He nailed that start. He was clear ahead, and now he's gassing the French boat on the reach. So perfect start there for Khan. You expect the boats to go round this Mark 1 and jibe pretty quickly, and it's all about not getting penalties. And there is already contact between the 2 boats, Tim. Who gets the penalty there?
Oh, well, that's really interesting there, Nate. I thought it would have been on the outside boat there, but it looks like the French boat, Pepito, was the one that got the penalty. And once you get one of those, it's very hard to try and make back those 12 seconds that you lost. And what would you do here, Nate?
Well, looking at the win, I think, that right-hand turn and early tack takes you back over to the pressure. My bet's looking pretty good right now, isn't it? We've got the Turkish team out in front with the French boat effectively just following here. So for me, it's a very simple race. When the French boat's tacked, which it just did there, Khan would just sail over to the boundary and tack and stay between competition and the next mark. And you see, if you look at the top left-hand side of the screen, there is more wind on one side of the course than the other, and the lead boat is in more wind.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right, Nate. I mean, looking at Khan, he's just leading Pepito back to that right-hand side and in complete control right now, in that better pressure and going towards that ley line much closer on the starboard side. And right now it's a very hard position for Pepito. He's got to try and create options, and maybe we'll see a split at the top gate or something like that to try and change things up a bit.
Yeah, good chance. And both boats here now having to tack. You don't want to go out of bounds here, so you're just scraping the edge of the boundary there. You can see both boats below the starboard ley line. If you look higher up in the screen, there's those dotted lines, that's the ley line. So the lead boat here is now starting to go into that lighter wind, and you can expect them to now start to look for the next wind shift. But this is a pretty big lead when you look at in eSailGP. That's quite a lot of distance. That's probably a penalties length. If you hit the top mark here, that's about how much you're going to lose. So a little bit of a margin for the lead boat right now.
Yeah, exactly. And it looks like a very shifty race course, however, so anything can happen. I mean, we saw in the last race that boats can go from last to first, so never discount the second boat there. But we're just looking at Khan now. He's going over to the ley line for the right gate, looking downwind, and Pepito following as well. I guess at this stage, it's a bit like SailGP in itself, where you're waiting for your opposition to make a mistake and then capitalising on that. Isn't that right, Nathan?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about, minimising mistakes. The boat behind right now, if you just got to wait and follow. Right now he's following, he's in the best pressure, he's on ley line, he's doing 46 knots coming here to the bottom mark. If we're on an F50 right now, you'd be hoping the lead boat doesn't do a good roundup, gets the flight or something like that. But the guys on these eSailGP boats, not doing that, but he does get the split, Tim. He gets the split, and to me it looks like he's made a reasonable gain here, and could almost get starboard tack when they come back together.
Yeah, it certainly looks that way, Nate. I mean, a 40-50 metre difference right now, and going for the tack, doing exactly what you'd expect Khan to do, which is just to sit on him right now, isn't it?
Yep, and then lots of taxis, so clearly a bit of a tacking duel. How hard is it, Tim, to tack these boats in eSailGP? Because every time I tack, seems to take me forever to get foiling again. What is the trick to get it to foil again?
No, you're exactly right. I mean, with the eSailGP, it's all about finding your angle as quickly as you can and just being able to pop that lured hull up to be able to foil again. But with SailGP, there's a lot more that goes into it. We're coordinating all 5 crew, and being able to tack on the spot is never an easy maneuver, so it's very tricky.
I think also on an F50 when we're racing, the humans and the battery power would be plummeted by now if we did this many tacks, whereas eSailGP, you don't have those restrictions. But I noticed these boats, they're bearing away just before they tack and then turning very hard to a low angle. How do you think we'd go if we did that on an F50?
Yeah, well, that's actually a classic maneuver that I actually picked up on when I was doing racing myself with eSailGP, and you have to build a little bit of speed before you come into it, because generally you're not sailing fast enough to get into the foiling tack.
Exactly. Well, after about 15 tacks on that upwind, not a whole lot has changed, and it's the Turkish sailor Khan with a lead right now, round the mark, early jibe, and off down to our final mark. 41, 42 knots in building speed here. Not many options left in this race, Tim.
Yeah, he's really putting the foot on the throat of Pepito right now. Khan is coming into that final jibe and into the finish.
There you go, final jibe, round mark 1. And right now, you'd just be celebrating. You'd be like, yep, sailed well, great start. And it was all about that penalty really at mark 1. And he's going to accrue across the line here. He's going to be spraying a lot of champagne pretty soon.
That's it. And he is the one that's going to make it through to the next leg of the series. Isn't that right, Nate?
Absolutely. And that was a good race. And I love that tacking duel on the second upwind. That was a really interesting duel to watch.
It sure was. And looking at the data now, we got Khan in first, Pepito in second, and the best start, Khan. He led back to that start in perfect timing with speed and was just able to gas Pepito the whole time.
And no lead changes from the whole race. And that's pretty standard in match racing. You know, once someone gets ahead, they take control of the race. And again, just comes back down to these starts, doesn't it?
That's it. It's all in the start.
So Khan takes that win, and we will catch up with him in just a moment. Off camera, Tim, you did say that you would have put your money on the Frenchman, Pepito. Are you rethinking that right about now?
I had full faith in Pepito, and I still believe that he can come back at another event and, you know, take the win and have a run for the championship.
No, I mean, to be fair, he did very, very well. And congratulations to him as well for coming in second out of the whole thing. So Nathan, how did you find that last match race?
It was really interesting, you know, as we were talking about, it came down to that start and who was leading going into Mark 1, and found it really interesting that Khan drew the penalty, and that was really the race. You know, you kind of suckered Pepito into that mark, caused the penalty, and then all of a sudden life got really easy for him. But Pepito didn't give up. He threw multiple tacks on that upwind, and I loved watching the way that they were tacking, because whenever I've played the game, it takes me like 5 seconds to get the boat foiling again. So I learned a few things from Tim. Bear away before the tack, turn it hard, the boat pops up and away you go. So maybe I'll have a chance of being within about 10 seconds of you next time we race.
Yeah, that's it. That's absolutely it, you know. Just get on your phone and play a bit more eSailGP.
And throw it on the ground.
Yeah, throw it on the ground. You got to get off there. Spend less time on the boat and more time on your phone.
Come on, you know, that's the key to success. Tim, what has impressed you the most about our players?
Well, it's just the level of the racing. I mean, it's so close between, I mean, you have first and second, but even from the start, they're all jostling for their position. It's very even, and there's only slight differences that get you into that first and second. And we had all sorts of different teams that are filling up the podium and then the rest of the positions. And yeah, it changes around so much, and it makes for great racing.
Awesome. Well, it has been a delight to have you with us commentating, and I hope to see you next time as well. What's next on the agenda for you guys today?
Well, as soon as we finish here, we're going to go and help the team put the boat in the water. We've got our boat back in the water today, which is great. It's a light forecast here, a light sea breeze, so hopefully it comes in after midday and we can get on the water and do a bit of training, make sure the boat's working after our big crash, and get ready for the racing on the weekend. So very excited to be back on the water and getting a bit of salt air and salt water across the boat.
Awesome stuff. I love to see it. Well, as I said, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for you. Good luck on the weekend, guys, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Congratulations, Khan. How does it feel to win? That was very, very smooth race for you.
Well, that was a really tough one. The pre-start was a battle, and I managed to have a good position. And he went for a hook before the start, and he maintained it. But also he was a little bit faster than me. But when we were at the first mark, I could just undo the overlap, and I managed to enter the zone before him. So I did a e-gamer move, actually, e-sport move, and from rule number 18, I gave him a penalty, and then afterwards I controlled him throughout the whole race, and he tried to just create a diversion, but I managed to control him again. At that point, I think Tim had nothing to do there, but he really he could have taken me at the first mark. If he had the overlap in the mark, then he would probably win. So congratulations to him as well.
Oh, so nice to each other. I love that. So talking of your pro gamer move, is that a strategy that you usually use?
Not all of my races, but for example, this is a match race, so we have to give each other penalties. There's nothing that we can do. So there should be no mercy, unfortunately. But in fleet races, I try to just focus on my own race and try to do the shortest distance possible. So yeah, sometimes we need to do these killer moves, but yeah, so there's nothing to do there. He would have done the same thing probably.
I love that you go from being really nice 1 second to no mercy in the next. So good. So what's next for you?
Yeah, of course. Just a week ago, I won the Laser Olympic Virtual Series. So that's an amazing experience for me. And now this, just in 2 weeks, I have won 2 races and I'm promoted to 2 grand finals. So this is a killer start for me. I wasn't expecting that, frankly. So I'm very happy and I'm looking forward to win the grand final as well. And it would be amazing if I manage to go to any SailGP race, because it's a dream come true for me to be in these F50 boats, to experience it. That's a once in a lifetime for me, probably. So yeah, it would be great.
Brilliant. I'm supposed to be unbiased, but I am rooting for you. You have cemented your position as a front runner in this competition. So how does someone become a winner like you so many times? What's your setup like?
I think it's practicing, and I'm using my laptop usually. And yeah, I've been e-sailing for about 2.5 years now, and I think I'm the only one who qualified for the eSailing World Championship 3 times in a row. So I have a lot of experience in these times where you have so much pressure on you. So I'm a little bit used to it right now, after maybe 2.5 years. So I think that helped me a little bit. And yeah, I was also a bit lucky because everyone in this final was really good sailors. There we had 2 Olympians in this race, Johan Cardona and Bart Lambrix. I have huge respect to these guys. So I'm very happy to be able to compete with them in the e-sailing arena. And of course, I managed to win this regatta even though they were racing. So I'm grateful about that as well.
Awesome stuff. Congratulations once again, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
So there we have it. Deja Vu has won a couple of these qualifier finals, but Khan is coming up behind him very strong. What are your predictions? Let us know in the comments below. That is it from me, your host Shay Thompson, for this Taranto qualifier final. To keep up with all things SailGP, make sure you're following us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. We will be back next month in Plymouth, hopefully in real life, but who knows with the world being the way that it is. To play us out, here is the promo from Taranto. Thank you so much and see you next time.
SailGP Season 2 continues in Taranto, Italy for the Italian Sail Grand Prix.
We've got a big issue in the middle of the fleet here. 94 kilometers an hour, incredible speeds there. Oh, capsize!
In round 1, Great Britain and Australia went head-to-head, with the British SailGP team taking the first win of the season.
They are the winners of SailGP Bermuda.
The battle for $1 million continues June 5th and 6th.